Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Cocaine?
Surfing?
What's up, everybody? You're listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie. I am your commissioner, Bob Trollsby. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, the good chef, Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt Marchesini. Tonight, we're just going to answer some listener questions. We got a ton of listener questions before the last show. We got a ton of listener questions today after we put out our nice little, all points bulletin for listener questions. So we're going to go through a lot of those today. But first, we had a nice little week as far as transfer basketball is concerned last week for the men's hoops team. It was a little bit of a slow week in the world of K-State sports otherwise, but hey, K-State men's basketball team picked up a couple of recruits, one which I would consider kind of in that top tier status, along with Doug McDaniel, and then another one who's maybe more so a developmental piece, but had some really interesting stats when you look at his stats for the Division II junior college team that he played for. But guys, let's talk about Achor, and Moby Ikegaruka. Who do you want to start with? Let's start with Achor.
Okay, we're going good first, huh? We're going with the big prize.
Let's go. We started
with
Dylan Edwards last week on the football side. Let's start with Achor.
Well, let's not get around you absolutely crushing those pronunciations. That is elite a level.
He's been practicing all day.
It's fine, and you have to because we're going to have
listening to Mitch Fortner because that dude has the pronunciation nailed right now.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. We're going to have all year to practice it. So whether I get it right now or not, Achor though, Samford, he absolutely ripped fucking Hunter Dickinson's ass out, and I loved it. Baby alert! Is he in a power cat suitie? Is it in a onesie?
Not right now, but he will be soon.
He probably has to shit. That's probably why.
Yeah, we want him to shit in something other than a K-State onesie.
Absolutely. But back to Achor. I mean, we got the. He's people are comparing him to Naquan Tomlin. I think he's more of a post guy, in my opinion. And if we don't hit on, another 5 later down the road, I think he's going to be that 5-out center that can really put it on the floor. He obviously has a little bit of shooting to him. That's kind of to be seen. The numbers are there, but going up a level, all that noise. I think this is a tier 1 pickup, though. This is what we needed. This is what we've been missing. This is what we've been complaining about that we've been missing on since we've gotten Doug McDaniels. And this guy pairs along with him perfectly. I feel like the coaching staff finally got their groove together, filling out the roster and then, going after these big fish and saying, hey, this is the team we have. We're building around you. Come in, be the last supplemental piece that we need, and you could take over and we can go places. So I think Achor, it's good to have him in the fold. There might have been some grade things, and that plays out at K-State, man. That works perfectly. I like that. I like that we're, if you're kind of slacking in the books, come to K-State, baby.
That's Bob's story in a nutshell, right? This is definitely a huge pickup. Not just, you look at some of the pieces from a highlight perspective. He shows flashes that he has the capability to play against some of the high tier athletes in Big 12. I will be excited to see how he does improve, especially with a coaching staff that feels like they have a way to utilize him as best as possible. And getting a guy who's averaging 16 a game, 6 rebounds a game. That's a big time pickup for this team. So I am excited for him. He is definitely a player that when you pick up that kind of kind of commitment, it changes the trajectory of where you might think this team could end up in Big 12 play and throughout the rest of the season. I know Jerome Tang said that he believes the pieces together could be a top 10 team, which who knows? I'm not saying yes or no on that. It'll be top 10 in the Big 12, right? Definitely.
You would hope so. You would hope so.
I mean, based on his stat line, like look at this guy's stat line. He averaged 16.1 points, 6.1 rebounds a game, and 1.8 blocks a game. And when you look at the game that they had in the NCAA tournament against KU, because what does everybody want? You want a guy who can compete against the competition that we're going to be facing game in and game out at the highest level, which is the Big 12, which is the best conference in men's basketball. He put up 23 points with 8 rebounds, 2 assists. That's and 31 minutes on the court too. Like that's exactly the kind of guy that Jerome Tang's been looking for this whole time. So when you look at what he was able to do against KU, I mean, how excited does that make you when we start to think ahead and start to think about Big 12 conference play?
It's kind of nutty to think about those stats that you just rattled off, and he's only on the court 22 minutes a game. I think it's somewhere in that book. I mean, it is, has to do with the constant pressure and fast pace that Samford plays at. But my God, if his per 40s are out of control. So if he can come here, get in shape, be in supreme shape where he can play 27, 28 minutes, close to 30 minutes a game as a big man, and a 4, that is the stuff that, raises some eyebrows in the Big 12. Because I was just going to say, with those numbers that he was putting up, 16 and 6 at a lower level, what are the expectations that you're expecting from him? I'm still seeing his usage rate at K-State going to be near that 15, 16 points a game, similar to what like Arthur Kaluma put up, this past season with the 7 rebounds, 8 rebounds a game. That is something we need. And when you have an excellent rebounder like him that can pair with David Gasson, with a bigger wing, because that's the one thing that we're not really missing, because I think we're a little bit longer than we were last year already. But if you can just have that rebounding from Achor and and the defense at that, being able to do the switches, I think no matter what team Jerome Tang's put out on the court, switching has not been an issue, on the defensive end. The 5s have been able to guard the 2 through 5. And this keeps it going, really keeps the train moving in terms of the defense with those blocks that you mentioned, and the scoring and the rebound. I don't think he's going to really drop off anything. If anything, I think it's going to go up because of his usage.
I like that you mentioned the length too, because I think isn't everybody on this team so far, aside from Doug McDaniel, 6'4" or taller?
I think, David Castillo, I think is like 6'1".
Okay. Yeah, fair. Fair.
But I mean, everybody else, our 2s through our bigs, 6'6", 6'6" wings, 6'9" centers, forwards, however you want to classify David Gasson and Achor, however you want to define them. They're long 6'9" guys, and those, they don't really fall out of trees that often. And when you get them, you kind of have to keep them on the squad and keep them on the court.
Yeah, you mentioned something really good about the usage rate piece. He was only averaging like 26 minutes a game at Samford. So if you think about it, I mean, the potential, if he's a guy that's going to end up potentially playing 30, 31 minutes in a game, that could be a good thing. Seeing if that talent kind of expands a little bit more from an average minutes per game. But the fun part of it for me is just seeing where kind of the stylistic approach that we saw with Naquan Tomlin and trying to get him involved in the offense. There are some similarities here that you could absolutely talk through with the types of players that they are. And so is he able to kind of come in and have that similar approach that Naquan Tomlin did? If he does, I mean, that's huge, not just from a team perspective, but for him as he's growing into being a basketball player at a high major school. So this is a huge pickup for us. It definitely changes the approach or the outlook of maybe where we expected this team to start when they kind of come to camp and get acclimated together in the fall. And for a lot of our fan base, we just have to learn how to say the name correctly. So that's going to be helpful too.
My thing with him in his comparison to Naquan Tomlin, I don't think it's a wrong, comparison in any way, but I think Naquan was such a smooth ball handler. I always harken back to that play that he had versus Cal in the non-con season of that Elite 8 run. He absolutely took it on the break, threw it, outlet, caught it, and had a lob. It was like, I don't know if Achor can do that, but in terms of physicality in the post, man, this dude adds something that we've been missing. We haven't had like a guy that can really play the 5, defend the 5, and be out wide and bury a 3. Like, we haven't had that yet, and I'm excited to see what Jerome can do with it. Excited.
Speaking of the 3, all of these guys are like 35+% 3-point shooters. Do we want to talk about how he's just loading up the arsenal with dudes who have the long range game? Because we really haven't, outside of Marquise Noel, we haven't really seen that with Tang teams where we have multiple dudes. And Marquise Noel was one of 2 guys who could light it up from 3, and Ish Masood would maybe hit a 3 every now and then.
Keontae was no slouch. Keontae was no slouch.
He had a great stroke. I remember being on the show last year saying Keontae had one of the smoothest strokes we've ever seen. I mean, no pun intended, but
whoa. Hello. Yeah, I mean,
reacted.
I know. When I heard stroke, I mean, that's just where I went. But it's okay. We'll tamper it down a little bit. But the 3-point shooting is obviously what we're gunning for, because last year I think we could wrap our minds around like maybe Kaluma taking a step and being a decent 3-point shooter. We obviously thought Tyler Perry was going to be an absolute assassin from behind a 3-point arc, and it kind of, with the usage and being the primary ball handler, I think it did kind of dampen his game, because I think he was an actual really good 3-point shooter, but just the way we had to use him, I mean, took that away, unfortunately. But, last year, we couldn't shoot the 3. I mean, Cam Carter, garbage can. He would jack them, but he was a garbage can. And this year, I think more people are finding their role. I feel like people are just nuzzling into that, that spot where they can be that actual 5 wide, the actual 5 out offense is going to be used. And this is where the 3-point shooting can really, really do you some service, because what do we think about like BYU? Their offense, it is live or die by the 3, but they get a lot of open looks because they had the Ali kid that could actually handle the ball at the 5 and make everybody else space so much in different spots on the court that it just gave defenses fits. So if we're like doing something like that and we got the shooters that we got, it could be nightmare season for the Big 12 for real.
Well, I think it just changes the dynamic of potentially what we thought we were going to see from the team this past season with that 5-out offense. And that was something that, was mentioned, especially a lot this past season. And, the big thing about the 5-out offense is who can be threats, not just from, the outside, but who are the threats as you move them throughout. Who are the threats as you move them throughout the court? And, how good is your spacing with that offense and pieces like that? Being able to have 5 guys out there that can potentially shoot the 3, or, just being in positions throughout the offensive side to be able to shoot the 3 is huge. So it is kind of exciting to know that you have guys who are coming in as shooters, because we did see, and of course, some games this past season where, when the offense would just have those spurts or those 5-minute, 6-minute runs where we don't score any points, very similar to like 2018, 2019 teams we were seeing with Bruce Weber. I mean, those, you knew when the run was coming, it was going to be a while. So just being able to have guys who are threats from the outside is going to be one of those exciting differences we can expect for the fall.
I think it's going to be huge. I do want to take some time, though, to talk about the second edition that happened last week. Well, I guess technically he was the first edition because we got both commitments on the same day. But Moby Ike-Garuka, he played at Ellsworth Community College in Iowa, not in Kansas. I know there is an Ellsworth in Kansas, but he played in Iowa. And this guy averaged 19 points and 10 rebounds a game in 21 games. He was a redshirt freshman guard, and he also shot 59% from the floor with 70% at the free throw line, which is interesting for a slightly bigger guy, you know. But he does hail from Galway, Ireland, and I just love adding an Irish dude. That's pretty fantastic. But what were you thinking about that addition? Do you see him as a guy who can come in and contribute, or do you see him as more of that developmental piece, maybe similar to Bay Fall, who was also added this offseason, this transfer portal cycle?
I mean, I purely see him as a chance, like just trying to see if the talent that he's sort of developing in his time in community college is able to just improve on that to get to the potential to play minutes. You can see some athleticism in his game. I mean, there's no doubt looking at some of the highlights, he's capable of playing. But just depending on who the rest of, the next two guys that might be coming on this team, it's hard to project, if he's going to be somebody who's going to get meaningful minutes this season. But if he's somebody that can push the team, make the team better, as well as improving his skills, I thought it was a very creative move, because in the grand scheme of things, he was the first commitment in a little while, and you had heard that there were some other high major teams. I believe Texas Tech was involved, that were kind of snooping in on this. And so it provided a little bit of this, I think, different outlook as a fan trying to pay attention to what's going on with recruiting, that the coaching staff, it seems like, is taking a little bit of a different approach now and how they are going through the recruitment process, and trying to be a little bit quieter, maybe looking for some diamonds in the rough. And they feel like Moby's a guy who can be that diamond in the rough, just playing and being a guy who takes coaching and finds way to improve his game so that he can be a meaningful contributor. I'm not saying he's going to be a starter. I'm not saying he's going to even get 10 minutes a game. You never know. But there's some excitement with the commitment, because I do think if other schools were looking at him, he can still be a diamond in the rough. But if other high major schools are looking at him, there has to be something there, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I've heard it explained to me like he's a lottery ticket. You buy him and you kind of just sit him to the side. And if he hits, he hits, and it's a big payoff. And if he doesn't, then you've got a guy that you can have in the system that wasn't a highly recruited guy, highly touted or anything like that. So he's not one of those guys that is, in my lizard brain, I'm thinking, oh, he's not a guy that's seeking minutes necessarily right now and that will bolt and transfer immediately. So he's one of those guys that you can develop over the years. He's just a redshirt freshman. Well, I think he's going to be a redshirt sophomore, but those are the guys with the high athleticism. And think about what we've got going in practice. We've got a sophomore Buddy Rich, a 6'5", like power forward hybrid kind of guy that can jump out the gym and is an absolutely physical specimen. Then you got Ike-Garuka. That dude is a dog. And if he can learn to actual play high level basketball, the athleticism will take care of itself. And then you got Bay Fall. You've got all this pedigree and all this athleticism just working in practice to get better. That's going to make our starters and our top 8 that much better, to where we're going to be a better basketball team, a deeper basketball team. So Moby Ike-Garuka, that is a risk I'm willing to take. And that's how, like you said, that is a creative way to do it, because he's not somebody that's going to leverage his spot against the staff. He's going to get better. He's going to develop. and it's just all upside. So if he can come in and crash the boards and do everything that we want Buddy Rich to do, but just maybe at a lower level and with lower expectations, man, it's just a bonus. It's just the cherry on top. We got the cherry on top before we got the ice cream sundae, really.
That's a hell of an analogy. Where do you think we're headed next? We got 2 roster spots left. Where do you want to see the staff go? Are there any names specifically that you want to see the staff go after, knowing that the portal window is closed? You only can work with the pool that you have left unless you have some graduate transfers enter the portal, or you have a coaching staff change, which unless you got Bob Huggins shouting profanities and slurs on a radio broadcast, unless you have something similar to that happening again, that's probably not going to happen. So you need a scandal or a graduate transfer to really probably go after a dude, unless you're, other than that, you're working with what you have right now.
Unless it's a guy who's coming from the NBA draft combine or something like that, who's declared that
too.
You know, there's definitely going to be a group of those players, including a few that we're hearing.
Including a familiar name, Arthur Kaluma, potentially? Reuniting?
Yeah. I mean, I am somebody that I think bringing in people who know the offense and know the coaching staff and the mentality and the thought process behind offense is a big win. And so I'm not a guy who's going to say, hey, no, don't bring Arthur Kaluma back, because I do think I look at the additions of who's been brought on this team, and I do think Arthur would fit and gel in this grouping a little bit better than last year, especially, you know, with last year's team not having Naquan Tomlin. I am totally fine with bringing back an Arthur Kaluma if he entertains that. I know kind of a few names that have been, or at least a couple names have been out there. There's a guy from Georgia Tech who was an early entrant for the draft that apparently our name has been kind of in the running. His name's Miles Kelly. I'm going to butcher. It's Ugana Onyenso. Hopefully
Nailed it.
I nailed it. All right. Well, because I figured out his name, he has to come here so I can say his name again. But another guy who played at Kentucky. I know he's looking at North Carolina as well. But if you have again, almost kind of like with, you know, Cliff, like we're in the running with these big teams, right? I mean, North Carolina, obviously a blue blood team. You know, can we get him on campus for a visit, and can we put together a package, including saying, you know, you're a great fit for this offense. Can we get him here? You know, I'm intrigued by his potential. The Georgia Tech guy, another guy who, I mean, declared for the draft, looks like he's going to come back, and we're in the running for him. So there's a few names out there. We'll kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, I think everybody, you killed the specifics of like the names that we're actually chasing. I think the positions that we're looking at, I think we need that center. I think we need to divvy up the minutes amongst David Gasson, Chor. I think we need to divvy them up so we're not so thin at the 5, and we're not relying on a Bayfall who has a red shirt available. So I think going after a center who's got years available, who's a big body, who necessarily wouldn't have to be here for all 4 years, anything like that, maybe a 1-year rental would be good. Then I think the wing is kind of the next thing. I think we're pretty much set at guard. I think guard is solid, and adding more shooters. I don't think you can have too many shooters, especially a shooter that I don't know, like a 6'5", 6'6" shooter that can come off the bench or be a starter. If you can find a tier 1 guy, I don't know how many of those guys are out there. It's probably the NBA draft route, like Matt was saying, that comes back from that. That would be our opportunity. But I really think we need to nail the 5, because I think divvying up the minutes and the fouls, I think that's important. You know how big of a foul guy I am, where, you know, you've got 5 of them. Use them all up. You need 15 fouls amongst your bigs. Send them out there, start hacking away.
We also know you're a big turnover guy because not every turnover is a real turnover. We had that
Exactly.
discussion this basketball season as well. Shout out, by the way, to the 117 people who are watching this live. If you are watching this live, thank you a ton for joining the feed. If you are on Twitter watching this live, pop over to our YouTube real quick. Give us a subscribe. Give us a like on the video. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously, you're probably already doing that, but go ahead and do it if you haven't already. We're going to move on real quick to touch on K-State baseball. So they've only got one life left in the Big 12 tournament. They lost to KU this morning 2-1. It's double elimination, so they've got one final opportunity. They're going to face West Virginia in that game. The season isn't officially over with yet, and obviously the big narrative heading into this baseball season was you barely miss out last year. You had an RPI that probably arguably could have had you in the mix, but the committee in baseball, and this goes back to when my dad was coaching baseball at Creighton. They've always gone on the RPI, and there were some damn good Creighton teams that missed out on the tournament because they didn't get that automatic bid in a really stacked Missouri Valley Conference back in the 80s and 90s. So RPI has been the way they've done this thing for 40 years now, 40 years. But it's a flawed system, and we've known this for decades. So that was the narrative coming in. They scheduled some good teams. They scheduled some good opponents, but it's been, I would say at this point, probably a pretty disappointing baseball season, knowing that we are right back where we were a year ago, knowing that you're kind of in that bubble picture. You're maybe on the outside looking in. You need to maybe get some signature wins here in the Big 12 tournament to make a good impression on the committee. Is Pete Hughes' job on the line? I mean, this is a guy who I wasn't super inspired by when we initially hired him, just given kind of his track record. It just seemed kind of like an okay hire. But is this a guy that you think should be at the helm for K-State sports if they don't make it? For K-State baseball, not K-State sports, if they don't make postseason play for the NCAA baseball tournament?
Hell no. I mean, I don't like, that's my personal opinion. He massively underachieved with this team. Like, it's insane to me when you think about it. You're going to have a guy in Kalen Culpepper who's going to be like first round, second round pick.
And you've had that level of talent in the past too.
And yes, 100%. You know, Tyson Neighbors, obviously he had some injury trouble at the beginning of the season. But this is a massive failure by Pete Hughes. I mean, that is, I think a lot of people who follow K-State baseball will feel that way. This is a team that did not look great from like a coaching perspective this season. Probably won more games because of the talent than it came with the coaching. It does not look like, though, unless, you know, there are some moves made, we'd owe a pretty large buyout to Pete Hughes if we fired him before, you know, I think it's like July or August of this year. I'm pretty sure his buyout's like 70% of his contract. And for a non-revenue sport, it's probably out the window that Gene Taylor is going to fire Pete Hughes. But this is the second straight year where you really underachieve with the talent that you have on this team. And the buck stops with Pete Hughes. It's unfortunate because there's some really good coaching talent out there. I mean, you know, if you had the capability to be hiring, I mean, not saying Rob Vaughn is a guy who's going to leave Maryland, but he's a K-State guy who, I mean, you know, could you lure him back to Manhattan to try and rebuild this? I don't know. But, you know, if they beat West Virginia tomorrow, potentially they win another game, you know, it's still in the realm of possibility that they make the NCAA tournament. But in my opinion, this team is not, there's no way that this team should have been in this situation in the first place. And a lot of it has to do with some of the mismanagement that we've seen from the coaching staff and leveraging this talent so they could be successful throughout the season.
I will say I do know a guy who's unemployed right now who had 2 kids go to K-State and has head coaching experience at the Power 6 level. And, you know, he's unemployed right now, and he was pitching coach of a College World Series team. So I don't know if there's a Todd Winberg listening to this program right now. Maybe throw your name in the hat for the K-State coaching position.
It's truly disappointing what happened with the baseball team this year. There was high hopes going into this season, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat like how I feel about like managers and what they actually bring to a date, like a game situation. There's only so much a manager can do, because if you're this team, if you're saying he's leveraging the talent wrong, when you're stranding 8 people on base, I don't know exactly what the manager is supposed to do in that situation. This did come down to a lot of the team not clutching up in certain situations. Your best pitcher, arguably in the past like 5 or 6 years, maybe even 10 years. I don't know. Jordan Wicks probably has something to say, but he gives up, he blows a save. Well, not a save, but he blows a game in a conference tournament, and, gives to your arch rival who you're expected to beat. But the players can only do so much. The manager can only do so much. It is disappointing. It's just disappointing all the way around. The other thing is, like Matt was saying, I don't think we're necessarily dead yet, because the metrics do like us a lot still. So if you just kind of do what you have to do versus West Virginia, which is a tall task, but we did just take a series from them not too long ago. If you get that game, I still think we're like kind of on the bubble in terms of getting into the College World Series. So it is ugly, and I'm not even going to begin to act like I know any baseball managers out there that we could be possibly going after. So I'm just going to sit that one out. But Pete Hughes, he's always been, like you said, Bob, he's always kind of been uninspiring, but the track record shows that he's not getting it done with, arguably some of the most talented teams. So what do you do in this situation? I don't know, but I don't know what we're going to do next year, because all our talent is kind of disappearing.
And Pete, I mean, say what you will, Pete has done a good job of recruiting. He's been able to get good talent in the door. But I just don't know what goes wrong. I don't know what goes wrong every year when you've got great talent, probably better talent than we've ever seen at K-State baseball wise from top to bottom. And you just can't get anything done. So it's a really kind of perplexing situation. It's almost, I mean, Jeff Mitty's a hell of a lot better coach than Pete Hughes is, based on just his track record in the postseason alone and ability to get to the postseason, and great recruiter. But like, it's similar in a way, because there's always something, like something is always a little bit off. But let's get into listener questions. So I'll probably go ahead and clip this up. We'll save that previous 30 minutes for a separate episode for those who are listening on the podcast feed. So look forward to another episode dropping with the next portion here. But if you are listening to us live, we're going to go ahead and get right into listener questions and comments. And we're going to kick it off with good friend, UCF friend, University of Central Florida Golden Knights fan, Dolly Drama. And he asked like 4 questions a couple of weeks ago, but we only answered 1 or 2 of them. But he's got 2 or 3 others here. So we're going to get into those. The first one is memories of Colorado versus K-State before their departure out west. And what do you think about their current iteration and return home to the Big 12?
Ooh, honestly, one of my favorite memories that I had. So Colorado was in the Big 12 still when they left in 2010 to 2009, one of them.
2011 was their last official year. 2010 was their last official year in the conference.
2010. But their last game we played them at Bill Snyder Family Stadium, Dan Hawkins was their coach. And Cody Hawkins, their son, was the quarterback. And we were kind of in the front row of the student section, and Cody Hawkins was like warming up and stuff. And he was like chiding like everybody in the front row, and everybody, Colorado didn't have a great team that year, albeit we were okay. But it was funny. I mean, just kind of everybody in the student section hated Cody Hawkins that entire game. So at least from that's funny.
Cody Hawkins, purple pants too. Was that a purple pants game in 2010? There's no way.
No. That was at Colorado. Okay. That was at Colorado. So I'm pretty sure it was 2009. That was the last game at home. But and then they were always fun in basketball. That was a fun kind of team that they had. They were pretty consistent, at least from a basketball perspective. I'm more excited to have them back for basketball because football is going to be a little train wreck, maybe. We'll see about this year. But Tab Boyle, I mean, he's been such a good – they've had such great players come through Colorado, especially since coming from the Pac-12. So basketball season will actually be pretty fun. They have great home court for the Big 12. So, yeah.
Yeah, memories of Colorado. I mean, basketball, Matt, you remember way more than me. I don't remember anything about Colorado basketball. Zero. None at all. Football, funny story. Going to high school here at Groveport, Madison, Ohio. We're in the state playoffs, Division I. We're actually cooking this season. And this is 2008. And we have to play a city league school, Brookhaven. Their running back, Rodney Speedy Stewart at Brookhaven. And he just so happens to commit to Colorado and goes and plays at Colorado, who goes on to play K-State, which is, a small world. He was absolutely dynamic. I don't remember necessarily the stats that he put up versus K-State. I know he was like second team All Big 12 his junior year, 2010. So, dude was dynamite. Colorado could get things done. I mean, some of my favorite players like Cordell Stewart, dog. Absolutely loved Cordell Stewart growing up. Had a jersey for some reason, had a Cordell Stewart jersey. But man, bringing Colorado back is going to be fun times, man. And, the tickets went on sale at 12:00 today, Eastern Standard Time, and they're expensive. And I'm just going to,
I'm glad about that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to play it by ear because I really want to get out there and hang out with the boys, have a Cocaine Live, maybe in a parking lot at Boulder.
Yeah.
Don't know. But at the rate they're going right now, I need Colorado to absolutely suck to make the secondary market possible for me to get a ticket because the tickets are crazy.
Or a Mega Millions win tonight, right? And then you're taking all of us. All 154 people listen.
Oh, yeah. We're all getting on a PJ. We're flying we're flying out of Columbus. And then I'm picking up every single person on the way to Boulder. We'll have a suite. It'll be out of control.
I don't have a ton of memories of Colorado. I just don't. They didn't seem like, I just don't have a ton of formative memories of Colorado. It's super weird. When I think about the old Big 12, they're one of the last teams I think about when I think about like memorable games or memorable players. Or, I mean, you hear the stories about Eric Bieniemy and Rashad Salam and all those guys, but like, I just don't remember. And so really the only memory I can honestly think of was that last game that Matt was talking about. I was at a friend's house my senior year of high school, watching the game on his TV with like 10 other people there. And I was the only one watching the game because I was the only K-State fan there. And it was just like, I was just so disappointed in the loss. Carson Hoffman.
We lost 44-36. We pulled a stat line up. Rodney Stewart
receiver, Aubrey Quarles.
Rodney Stewart for Colorado had 34 carries for 195 yards and two tutties.
Yeah,
absolute dog.
We got killed.
And let me say, Groveport Madison versus Brookhaven, we shut him down. He had like maybe 100 yards, and we went on to the next round. Let's go.
They shut down Daniel Thomas in that game with 58 yards on 14 carries. But this is like OG Cocaine Willie naming a random player. Aubrey Quarles was one of the first guys we talked about back like 2 years ago when we first started this thing. But yeah, memories of Colorado. I mean, they're very specific, I think, for all of us. So we'll end it with that. And the next question comes from D. Meir. Mr. Chef, what is your favorite driver to root for in NASCAR, and what is your favorite track to watch?
Ross Chastain. It's clear. My favorite race, my favorite driver is Ross Chastain, the watermelon farmer. The dude is a dog. He hasn't won yet this year. Kansas City was fun. It's the races this year being the speedway was so open, but it just stinks because they have the different like sections and they kind of stop the race, get everybody back together, which I guess makes for more action. But man, when they're going, it's fun to watch. But Ross Chastain, my guy, throw that watermelon down one time for me.
That was I don't watch NASCAR and I don't care, so I'm just gonna let you.
Yo, I'm a Bubba guy. I've
Jordan Brand, really? Bubba Wallace?
I do follow Bubba on Instagram. That's the only part of the diagram I'm part of.
He had a really good documentary on Netflix that came out a few years ago, and then he was obviously in this new NASCAR documentary. And so I don't know. I kind of embraced he's kind of. I think he's a good driver. He hasn't won this year, but
no, he hasn't. He's actually struggling real bad. Yeah. He's like the worst. Denny Hamlin has 2 racers, and Tyler Reddick got a dub, not maybe like 3 weeks ago. But Bubba Wallace is nowhere to be seen. So shout out to all the Bubba Wallace fans struggling.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll figure it out.
Well, we're going to move on from that one. At ZZ Zumwalt, Zach Zumwalt. Zach, I just have to say, dude, you have to change your Twitter handle to something that makes a little bit more sense with your actual name. ZZ Zumwalt, like make it ZZ Zumwalt or something. I don't know. You gotta add like a T or something.
Don't stop making fun of people. You know what? Anybody can have whatever they want for their Twitter name. So
they can.
Shut your mouth.
But you also misspelled it on here. It's ZZ, not ZZZZ. We have 10 roster spots filled on the basketball roster currently. If you could bring back any former player, what 2 Wildcats would you choose to fill out the roster?
Oh my God.
I know.
Question.
No, that's a great question. I think it would be a little unfair to like pick like an all-time great. I think it would just be a little bit too unfair to obviously throw Michael Beasley on there. Why not? So for me, I think what would make sense is a Wesley Iwundu on this team would be insane. A really long ball handler that can play the 3. I think Wesley Iwundu would be elite.
I'm going to go with Jam Sam and Thomas Gibson.
Oh my God.
Thomas Gibson.
I fucking love Thomas Gibson.
So it's just who our favorite player is. I would bring back Rodney Magruder. I think would be a great fit at the 2.
Yeah.
But
you already got CJ Jones.
I know, but Rodney Magruder, I would say, is more like a better player than CJ Jones.
Right, but the question is to fill the last 2 spots. I think we're went on a whole tangent about how we got a lot of guards.
Would Khalif Battle have been better than CJ Jones?
But they weren't recruited over each other.
Khalif Battle
was going to play the 3. I guess if you want Rodney Magruder at the 3, that's fine.
Sure. I would also put Bill Walker.
Ooh. Yeah,
I agree. William Henry Walker.
I agree. I would put William Henry Walker on that list.
Yeah.
Bring that athleticism.
That's good. I think I would go Wesley Iwundu.
And we need more guys eating popcorn on the bench.
Ooh, that's a tier 1 gift. That's a tier 1 gift.
Yeah.
That's just this hilarity.
Also, I do have to say, Zach's questions are fire this week, and he may be surpassing Will the Thrill as far as like best question asker.
Oh my God, Will!
Will didn't even tap in for this episode, so I gotta call out Will the Thrill, our guy. But Zach taps in with 2 more questions. The first one: what wide receivers are we looking forward to the most? I love this question. A healthy KJ, sophomore phenom Jace Brown, or new blood Cephas?
I think for me, it would be Jace. I think I want to see him back it up. A lot of people kind of wrote off Keegan Johnson. And if he never does anything, I think a lot of people would be okay with that because they've already given up on him. And if Jace Brown does another season and ups his game even more, The sky's the limit for that kid, and we haven't had a receiver, especially a sophomore, true sophomore, absolutely explode onto the scene. So give me Jace Brown with a, Tyler Lockett-esque kind of season.
Wow. This is a tough one because maybe I'm like one of the only few people. I'm excited to see how Dante Cephas is this season because he had such a great year at Kent State. He had a decent year at Penn State. I think he would have had a better year at Penn State if his quarterback wasn't ass. Just throwing it out there. Like if he stayed this year, I think Drew Aller is going to make a step up at Penn State, and Cephas would have had a pretty good season. So I'm interested to see what he's bringing to the table. I can see the flashes that Keegan Johnson brings. I've already seen what Jace Brown can bring. So I'm also somebody who likes what can New do for our offense. So
that is good logic, I guess. That is pretty good logic, because if you expect what Keegan Johnson's already giving you, and you know what you're going to get from Jace Brown, adding a Dante Cephas who could, bring a different element to the receiving core, I think that is pretty good logic. And he's got amazing drip. The dreads hanging out the back. That's going to be a saucy looking receiver. I think oh man, that's pretty good. That's a good answer. I still think it's mine, but whatever.
I think for me, out of this group, it's Cephas, but I'm almost more excited to see what Garrett Oakley can do, what Dylan Edwards can do in this offense. I'm excited to see what Trey Spivey, like a healthy Trey Spivey who's not redshirting, can do in this offense too. Shout out to Junior Spivey. He follows the show on Twitter. But I like all three of these guys. I mean, Keegan, injuries aside, has shown that he has the talent to be an elite wide receiver in the Big 12. Jace Brown had the flashes last year that we needed to see, especially towards the end of the season. And I think he's going to have an incredible sophomore campaign. And then Cephas, I mean, if he can return to the levels he was at Kent State, that's going to be, we talked about it a couple of pods ago, but having all of these weapons at Avery Johnson's disposal is going to be just nightmare shit for the rest of the Big 12, if we're being totally honest. Imagine scheming against this offense like you're scheming against like a Mike Leach offense in 2009 or something. Chef is shouting out Bosco's voice. We've got a final question from Zach Zumwalt. Any fun nickname ideas for anyone on the football roster this year?
Oh, for an individual person. When I looked at this question, I thought it was like a nickname for the whole team.
When do you ever give nicknames to the whole team?
No, like
Leader Vikings. I don't know.
Yeah, like Redeem Team, or the Dream Team or something like that.
The Legion of Boom.
I was thinking, like, for this team, I was trying to think of like what kind of expectations we have going into this season, and people are saying that next year is kind of the year that we could really, really pop. So I was thinking like maybe the 97 just maybe relive 97, where it was a really, really good team. And then 98, we kind of exploded. So I don't know, but individually, I'm trying to think of a nickname for Cheaty. I've been thinking about Cheaty a lot, but I cannot think of a nickname for the kid. I can't.
OB.
Ooh.
Damn. It took me 1.7 seconds.
You've got more brain cells than me, so leave me alone. Damn. OB. Ooh.
I'm gonna go with our guy we were just talking about, Dante Cephas. Dante's Inferno. I mean, that writes itself. He's gonna be blazing. He's gonna be blazing fast. He's gonna be running all over these defenses or lack thereof in the Big 12.
What is Gus Johnson gonna call Jace Brown? What's Jaguar Jace?
Dude, you know how hard I wanted to just like try to do a Gus impression right there. I wasn't gonna do it, but oh my god, that would be Jaguar Jace. He does give a lot of car references to wide receivers.
Yeah.
So we've got Avery's Fun Bunch from JR via YouTube, and then
See, that's a good team name. Oh, meat.
friend
Hold
of
on.
the
What?
show, friend of the show, and former co-host, guest co-host Joe Tillery. Check out his channel if you're on YouTube. We should start calling DJ Giddens Meat. I have no reason to justify this, but it just sounds like a DJ thing. I mean, I get that. He kind of barrels over dudes. He's like Daryl the Barrel from the Chiefs, but for the Cats. He's elite. He's elite. I do love
Great,
it.
Great question, though. Great question.
Great questions across the board. And the next question comes from, speak of the devil, Joe Tillery. What is the official peanut butter brand of Cocaine Willie?
We might fight over this one. I mean, I think it's Jif.
I'm a Jif man.
I'm a Jif man.
I stopped eating peanut butter. I only use peanut
Lord
powdered peanut.
Jesus.
I only
This guy,
use, I only use
peanut butter,
cheese.
No. I use powdered peanut butter now. So peanut butter PB. What is it?
What?
PB Go. Yeah, you use powder. Yeah, and then you just mix it with a little bit of water, and then peanut butter.
You're a sick dog. You need put down. That's what you need.
Yeah, the calories I save, I can then eat ice cream with. So you have to like pick my
I
battles a little bit.
I bet it's peanut butter ice cream.
Oh my god, I love peanut butter cup ice cream. Let me tell you.
Yes. And if you're in Denver, Colorado, you need to go to McGill's World of Ice Cream. If you have,
do they sell Reese's peanut butter? Just the peanut butter?
Yeah, they do, but it does not taste the same. I've actually had
I would imagine.
It doesn't taste the same as a peanut butter cup.
Interesting.
Yeah, but no. I don't know. I do enjoy peanut butter. I used to eat it so much that I gotta calm it down.
Oh, shout out to my mom.
Creamy or crunchy?
Creamy.
Absolutely.
It's been a while since I've had crunchy peanut.
Okay, I did not think that was gonna be 100% on that. Wow.
And as we all know, choosy moms choose Jif. No free ads, but yeah, we're a bunch of choosy mothers. And Ryan Moss taps in. A guy named Fireball treats his body like a temple.
Look. Trust me when I say this. I make it up with other things that I eat, and I think I found an alternative to peanut butter. Look, you know what? When I got to prep for the fall for all the Fireball shots, so I can't eat peanut butter now, so I can have 90 shots every game.
Smart thinking.
Oh my God. And just again, shout out to those watching on YouTube and Twitter. We're up to about 214 people watching us live right now. Like the show, follow us on all the things, subscribe, like, whatever. Do whatever you want. Comment in the comment section. We'll fire it up on the screen too while we're up here. At PowerCat Ryan. So Ryan Moss taps in with, in the Kleiman era, K-State has run the ball 60% of the time on 60 plays per game, with Messingham as the offensive coordinator, and 57% of the time on 71 plays per game with Klein as the offensive coordinator. Do you expect the Riley Wells offense to look more like the Klein or the Messingham offense?
Not a math pod, by the way. Not a math pod. But I think the numbers, honestly, I think we're going to go faster. I think with the philosophy that Connor Riley's seen in the Pop-Tart Bowl, and with the skill set that Avery has, with the weapons, and I think with Matt Wells in his ear, I think we're going to be going a lot faster. And a lot of this plays per game has to do with our defense. And I think if our defense is getting our offense possessions, man, we could be looking at 75 plays a game, 80 plays a game. I think we're going to be slinging the ball, short yardage, get to the red zone, we throw to score, run to win. Man, oh man, I'm excited. But not a math pod. Those were big numbers.
I love the stats. I will assure you that my hope is that it looks more like the Klein offense than the Messingham offense, because I had many moments with the Courtney Messingham offense where I was yelling, "What are we doing, Courtney?" And I did not feel we had as many of those with Colin Klein. So I'm looking at the amount of negatives that I saw with the Messingham offense versus Colin's offense. That's where my thought lies.
Yeah, and I think adding Matt Wells into the mix, it's gonna continue to be a faster paced offense. I don't think having Wells as part of this, granted he's not the primary play caller, I just don't think he's going to want to slow the offense down. We've seen what this offense can do the last 2 seasons, playing at the pace that they've been playing at. And you can, I mean, we're going to have an elite rushing threat between the two guys that we've got, and not even thinking about some of the potential younger guys like a Joe Jackson that could get thrown into the mix from time to time too. So it's going to be a faster pace. I don't think there's any question it's going to be a faster pace, but I don't know what the run split looks like. I think the run split could be heavier on the run, just depending on the situation and depending on the opponent.
No, I think the run split's going to be up there too. I think surprisingly enough, I think because we have such a mobile quarterback, I think that will lend itself to having a lot more rushes than necessarily, what would be written down on paper. So, it might be a pass play technically, but I think with Avery Johnson's legs, that lends itself to having a lot more plays being ran because he is a first down getter. If the play breaks down, he could pick up that first down by scrambling out there and keeping those chains going. That increases the play counts. That increases everything going faster.
And we've got a comment from YouTube from JR once again. Until Wells came, I would have said more like Messingham, but now maybe even more fast and passing than Klein, which I think I'm probably leaning more that direction too. So I think I'm just super excited. Like, words cannot describe the level of excitement I have for this football season. The next question comes from Power Cat Ryan once again. When not handing off the ball, Avery Johnson, not a math pod, chef. Avery Johnson ran the ball 44% and threw 56% of the time. What do you think his run pass split will be in 2024? I think his pass split, I think he's definitely going to pass the ball more, just because every indication we've had from the coaching staff so far this offseason and from some of the tea leaves we've read from back channels and stuff is Avery wants to air it out. Avery wants to throw the ball. He wants to show off his arm and try to get that more on tape. He's obviously going to be an elite scrambler when the pocket breaks up, but that's not going to be his primary situational, how he's used in the game.
I mean, I think my biggest concern early on in the season is how does the offensive line look, so we aren't in a position where he's struggling to get opportunities to have the ability to read the defense and make a play with his arm. I think it's a valid concern. So maybe early on in the season, outside of, I would say, the first game of the year, you may see him running a little bit more because he has to, because the pass protection isn't there like we want to see it. But throughout the rest of the season, I anticipate we're going to see him throw the ball more. And also because I just believe he's a really good surveyor of the defense. And I know it's a small sample size at this point, but he's going to have the talent to get open, and he's going to be able to make some of these reads so he can throw the ball. But I would not be surprised early on in the season we see a little bit more of the running, because he's like running for his life, just because we're in a position where our offensive line is still gelling.
Also, real quick shout out to Eric at the Ohio podcast. Eric is the homie that's in charge of the College Huddle and kind of got us into the mix here. So if you are not following yet, follow the College Huddle at College Huddle. Go to the website. That's thecollegehuddle.com. Cocaine Willie is the official K-State representative of K-State for the College Huddle. So shout out to Eric. Thanks for hopping in here. And then JR also says our offense will be the one everybody hates to play against rather than KU, and theirs will take a step down with their new offensive coordinator. If you haven't already checked it out, we did a Big 12 head coaches power ranking last week. So check out that entire pod. We went through school by school, team by team, and coach by coach, and did some power rankings. So we talked about that as part of that. But shout out to JR and Eric there. Chef, what's your take on the run pass split for Avery?
Yeah, I mean, you guys made really good points. I think he will want to throw the ball, and like I said, getting those chains moving. The run splits, I don't know how many run plays, they're going to call for Avery right off the jump. You know, a 200-pound quarterback, I don't know if they want to run him 18 or 15, 18 times a game. I think it'll probably be around that six calls a game that are design runs. So throw some scrambles in there, 5 or 6 scrambles. I think he could get in close to 10, but you know, those scramble plays, if he's avoiding sacks and he's not getting touched, I think sometimes the splits will be higher, but I think he will be airing it out a little bit more than we saw last year. Definitely, obviously last year, but man, the kid can sling it, and he's got all these fancy new toys. So let the boys spin that rock.
All right, so Power Cat Ryan's pivoting to defense now. So with Khalid Duke, 6 sacks, and Nate Matlack with 4 sacks leaving K-State, Cody Stufflebean with 2 sacks leads all of the returners. Who leads the team in sacks when we're looking back on this in early January? And what will their total be in 2024? I'm going to go with Toby O. I think Toby O is going to lead the team in sacks. Edge rusher.
I like
and
that.
I'm gonna say it's like 5 sacks.
5
or 6.
I'm gonna go Desmond Purnell. I think Desmond is a sneaky pick.
I like Dez.
I like Dez on the sneaky tip. I like Dez on the quarterback sacks. I think he's gotten a lot bigger. I think he's getting a lot healthier. I feel like he's embracing that linebacker role more. You know, he was a converted safety. I think he's the next few steps. You've always got, when these guys are in the program for a long time, they start to progress into different areas and different off seasons. So I think this year, I think blitzing from that Sam position is going to be big, especially with inexperienced defensive ends and defensive line. I mean, they're all talented, but you know, getting help with the blitz, Clanderman might dial some shit up. Let my boy Desmond eat.
I'm just going to state this for the record. If Desmond Purnell is the leader of sacks for our defense, that is not good.
Why?
Because I think that shows that we don't have the level of athletes at the line position to be able to rush the quarterback unless we're throwing blitzes like that. That's just my opinion.
I have 3 down linemen usually at a time. I mean,
I understand, but you still have to. I am choosing Brendan Mott.
Okay.
As my guy. I think there's still a lot of unproven talent at the defensive end position. We hear a lot of good things about some players. In my opinion, I understand that, yes, we play 3 down linemen and we are bringing a linebacker in certain situations. But I would be slightly concerned if at the end of the year, Desmond Purnell led the team in sacks, because it shows that the level of athleticism in our defensive ends isn't getting to the quarterback. They're not getting to the quarterback, which is what we need them to do. So that's just my thought on it. I think Brendan Mott's going to actually have a really great year. He's shown some really good flashes in his career. He came back for this last season. He's going to be very much that leader on the defensive side. So maybe he'll have like a Ryan Mueller type season, which would be excellent. So
that would be elite. That would be fantastic.
Yep.
College football 25 is on the horizon. This one also from Power Cat Ryan. He's got 2 more after this. What offense are you running as K-State's offensive coordinator in the new game?
I mean, if I'm spamming, like if I just want to like piss people off, it's obviously like shotgun triple option. I mean, you put Dylan Edwards, DJ Giddens next to him, and Avery. And if I don't really care about how their bodies feel the next day, I'll just run triple option all day and force you to stop it. And I'm sure there's some RPO plays off of that, which will really, you know, ignite the flames of like trolling and all that stuff. So I'm going to spam that until the cows come home. Give me triple option, shotgun. And I might put like Keegan Johnson at the H-back and just, you know, just really
Oh my
fuck with some
God.
people.
I can't wait to play you in this and beat you by 39 points.
Zero chance that happens.
We'll remember this. I was always a West Coast offense type of guy back in 2014, but I would always put in a handful of the zone reads. I got really good at running the zone read in that last NCAA game. So that was my style. What I heard is they're going to have like 130 different offensive playbooks or something like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how the gameplay is. I hear we'll get some more info and hopefully by next month.
I mean, you just think about how the game has changed and developed in the last 9 years since there was a game that was released. So I mean, West Coast offense was going to be my answer, just because I feel like if you were to plug and play all of the weapons that K-State has right now into like Andy Reid's offense, which is comes from the West Coast offense tree, I just think, I mean, you're not going to beat that. You're just not going to beat that. So West Coast offense was going to be my answer as well. The second to last, the penultimate question from Ryan Moss is 4th and goal from the 8-yard line, down 4, game on the line. What's your play call?
Shit, my God. This is in the video game, or like if I'm actually coaching?
It doesn't make a difference, does it?
Coaching.
Ooh.
Not the play call
team.
like the Texas game this year. So we can't.
No, that is off limits. That play is off limits. What team is it? This K-State team?
Yes.
Oh man.
Real life, Ryan says in the comments.
I think you have to spread it wide. I think you have to go 4 wides. Probably, you got your top 3 receivers. I think Oakley's out of the game. I think you have to take him out. I think you have to put DE out wide. I think you have to have DJ Giddens probably motioning somehow. And what I hate the most about college football coaching is they like to roll their quarterbacks out. And I despise that. You take away a whole half of the field. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to a straight drop back. I'll have something quick across the middle, probably a motion with DJ Giddens flaring out to the field side. And then you just gotta it's a spray and pray with Avery Johnson trying to get into that end zone. If he sees a receiver breaking open, throw it. If not, get your feet moving and get into the end zone. Shout out to the play, spray and pray, Avery Johnson. That's the play call.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know how I can top that. I mean, I would. I'm a guy that likes to put in a little bit of motion, try and get the defense moving a little bit, and then you can figure out obviously if it's a zone situation or man-to-man defense. I would also be looking at like a tight end kind of out a little bit, use some of the height. It'd be good if we could get Trey Spivey. He's 6'4". If he could get some time on the field this year, we haven't really had like a tall wide receiver like that.
You're a jump ball guy, huh? You're a jump ball guy.
Yeah,
okay. I can respect that. If you got a top tier receiver that has bounce, and you find a matchup, I mean, jump balls aren't a bad thing, especially with if it's a PI, where does it go to? The 2-yard line.
The 2-yard line, yeah. So. Especially with a quarterback that can, be accurate with it a little bit too. So that would be my.
I like the having kind of like a crossing route and tight end over to the corner of the end zone type of situation. You got the X go across, and it just gives you a lot of options. And I don't know, you've got like a weird H-back situation as well. So you've got like 2 guys, bigger guys that are kind of on the right side of the field. All of your wide receivers on the left side of the field. And
the only problem
with
with crossers is that it just takes a little bit of time. And from the 8-yard line, you've got everybody condensed down in there. The pass rush, they know you're passing. Nobody in the world's going to run the ball there. So, man, oh man, crossers are dangerous. So I think
bring Uso in and have him sub in on the offensive line just so you have a little extra protection, man.
Lord God. Yeah, I mean, that is also an option, max protect. If they're max protect and have like maybe 2 routes and then pray that Avery can get it done with his feet. That's kind of where you have to be.
Then get it to the 2-yard line with pass interference call, and then you have direct snap to Uso at the 2-yard line and have him just barrel in.
Dontari Poe, like Dontari Poe.
Dontari Poe. Exactly.
Jump pass. Jump pass.
Ooh.
Which backup quarterback takes the most snaps in 2024? I guess your options are Blake Barnett, Jacob Knuth, and Taquan Roberson, who just signed last week.
I love Roberson. That name is, infamous.
Yeah.
So,
famous, not infamous.
Oh, depending on who you're talking to.
Well, we're not talking
maybe
about Bill Snyder.
Maybe. Well, he didn't do it, so I'm not going to say. Well, hold on.
We know he didn't do it. There were no
I thought you said he did do it.
He did not. He did not.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to Roberson. I think he came here for a reason. I think a lot of mop up duty for him. I think an experienced quarterback behind him. I think Knuth could have done some things, but a guy that's never taken a snap in game as your backup emergency quarterback is really playing with fire with a team that is expected to do things. So, man, Roberson, my guy. What number is he wearing? Is that a fish?
Good question. Let's see.
Is that a fish? Because he is signed, so I don't know. Like all these guys, like Dylan Edwards, what number is he wearing? Because Blake Barnett, are you coming off of that 3? Big dog, true freshman, you get off of that number. That's mine.
It doesn't look like either of them are on the official roster yet as far as numbers and stuff are concerned. So TBD. But they are both signed, so.
Yeah, I think Dylan Edwards is going to bully Blake Barnett off of that number 3, which is fine. You can have 17 like every other quarterback that's started their career at K-State. Shout out to Jesse Ertz.
Okay. I don't have anything to add. So I can't I'm going to talk about what backup. I mean, I think the guy from UConn is going to be the backup. Because I also think he's from an athletic perspective. He has some talent, but he is also similar in the kind of style that he plays. So
he's a little fella though.
He's a little guy. Yeah. I mean, but so are you.
I think he's
Stop. Your mom's on this.
Your mom is on there. And JR says in the YouTube comments, Edwards could buy it from him, which, NIL these days, probably. They do it NFL style. We are, and I guess my answer real quick, I'm going with Roberson. I would love to see Blake Barnett, just see him in like mop-up duty against UT Martin. I don't want him to burn his red shirt by any means, so I would just like to see a couple of series and some blowout type of games where we see Barnett and see what he has to offer. And Jacob Knuth, I mean, we don't really know. We haven't seen him in a game for K-State yet, so would be really, really fascinated to watch Knuth as well. Just knowing he was such a highly touted recruit when we initially recruited him out of high school, so I'm sure he's got some stuff. It would be interesting to see that. The next question comes from @MailOrderMcBride. Shout out to Garrick McBride, another K-State Delta Sig living in Colorado. Whatever happened to Ron Prince and that fake company the university set up for him? I don't know what happened to the fake company that they set up for him. That was that in the Bob Kraus thing, one of the weirdest things that might be the weirdest situation that's ever happened in K-State sports history.
We've had plenty of weird things happened too.
That might be the weirdest.
I did look up Ron Prince.
I did.
I'm not familiar with this story.
His last head coaching job was at Howard, and all of the parents complained because he was too all of the same shit that came out about Ron Prince's time at K-State about him being a sociopath had come out while he was coaching at Howard, and all of the players' parents came out and essentially petitioned for him to get fired. So he's no longer the coach at Howard. I think he was O-line coach or something at Jacksonville for the Jags.
Yeah, he
was it Detroit?
He coached in Jacksonville, Detroit, and Indianapolis after in the NFL.
Well, what is this? Hold on, what is this business noise?
Basically, he started an LLC. They started an LLC that would basically, it was like this agreement, and K-State would pay like $3 million to this LLC if K-State terminated Ron Prince before December 2008, and it's on Wikipedia. If anybody hasn't heard of this, it has way more details than we could ever provide. But man, it was a wild backdoor situation. Bob Kraus.
Dirty boys.
Bob
Dirty
Kraus,
boys.
worst AD in K-State history?
Maybe.
He was pretty bad. But he did finalize. He was taking over for Tim Weiser. He did kind of finalize some of the Frank Martin stuff at the time. And shout out to 3Ma. They just did an interview with Frank Martin, and it's going to be a 2-parter. So I'm
great
stoked.
Interview, by the way. That first part.
Stoked to hear part 2. Yeah, the first one there were some great stories. So definitely shout out to 3Ma from KCSN and John Kurtz, and Coleman, Derek Young, who are the hosts of that pod. The next question comes from our very own Chef Andre Napier. What war would you have fought in?
I swear, when I saw this question, I was like, what have you been doing today to think of this question? Where you're on one of your
No, it was a Twitter question that I had asked who was that? Punish Caleb, Email Caleb. They were talking about Vietnam and that it takes a real man to fight in Vietnam, and I think it would take a real man to fight in any war, just about. So I was wondering, what war would you have fought in? Not necessarily even survive, but just which one would you have rather fought in?
I would pick the Cold War because I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, I could see that. Flower child. I honestly probably would pick like the Spanish-American War. Out in Texas. Maybe even the Indian Wars would be kind of crazy because if you die, it's not going to end well for you. You're going to get scalped. You're going to get put into some weird positions. Not going to have a fun
Native American Wars.
Oh, sorry.
I was trying to. I didn't know where you're going with this.
No, I'm just thinking of different wars.
I typed in fake wars on Google, and because I was going to give you like some sarcastic answer, and there's a war called the Phony War.
Oh, the Phony War. Yeah.
Really?
An 8-month period at the start of World War II where there was one limited military land operation on the Western Front. I don't have the time in the world for this. So
interesting. Yeah. And very, yeah. Chef, you asked this question. So I don't know. My answer is whichever war I would have gotten conscripted into service in from a draft, because I would not have probably actively chosen to fight in any war.
Whatever war Chef picks, and I'm on the opposite side looking out.
Hey!
Oh, here's a good one. Bleeding Kansas. I would have fought on the Kansas side of Bleeding Kansas. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Fuck Missouri. And the next question comes from @Allison Renner. What would it take for each of you to buy in on the Batcats this postseason? Well, first off, it would require us to make the postseason first and foremost. So I'm going to say making the postseason first, and anything after that I would be bought into.
Yeah, not losing to KU in the conference tournament. So shout out to poorly timed tweets.
Hashtag. I'm not bought in at all. So.
Yeah, zero buy-in now.
There's no way. There's nothing you can do for me.
And I'm probably the least bought in of the three of us, which is saying something. The second question she asks is, what is your favorite hot dog of the Big 12 tournament? Which we had a little bit of back and forth about in our group chat, but let me just pull up the tweets here so we are looking at the same thing.
I had an opportunity today, but I didn't capitalize on it. I should have put cream cheese on this hot dog that I had for dinner, and that probably could have took the number one spot, but I didn't do it, so that's still undecided. Man, look at those dogs. That's obviously the safest pick right there, right? We know what Skyline chili dog.
Cincinnati style chili then.
I mean, that's not what I'm necessarily. I'm just saying that is if we're putting this in terms of like an athletic profile, that's the lowest, the highest floor, and you definitely the lowest ceiling because you know what you're going to get with that Skyline dog. The Knights dog, I mean, that looks incredible. That is the most boring one right there. That
Mountaineer dog?
Yeah, no, get me out of
the most boring
No,
one.
it's like a pig in a blanket.
Yeah, it's like a hot dog pizza pocket.
I'm going with the Oklahoma State dog, just the Pistol Pete dog, because I am a huge fan of cream cheese on pretty much anything, and cream cheese on a hot dog. There's a place called Biker Jim's, no free ads in Denver. Definitely recommend it if you're in the area. But they put cream cheese. You get it Biker Jim style. Anthony Bourdain went there, so don't take it from me. Take it from him. Definitely underrated. Underrated for sure. Also, shout out to the Kansas City Royals. They won 10-3 over Detroit. Yeah. I mean, what do we think about the Wildcat dog, though? I'm not a fan of Sweet Baby Ray's personally. It's just too sweet.
Okay.
Too sweet for my taste.
Here we go.
No, I can rock with that. I don't mind sweet and savory food. So man, the Kansas State dog is in dogs with 2 W's. I love that. That is top tier marketing right there. Dog.
Pretty good. The next question comes from @the Triano Kid, our homie Robbie Triano, recurring guest. There aren't many of those on Cocaine Willie at this point in time, but recurring guest Robbie Triano asks, "Are you pro or anti waterbed?" You'll get the reference if you know, if you listen to the last episode. But I am probably anti waterbed. I've slept on one once, I believe, in my life, and it was just kind of weird. It was just strange.
You've never seen a twin waterbed, though, have you? They're always kings or queens, I think. They might be.
Are you choosing to sleep on a twin bed?
But what I'm saying is, you have no option. Like, if you want more room in your bedroom, you can't have a waterbed because it's going to take up a lot of space. So, if you did want a twin, you can't have a waterbed. That is a negative for that bed.
But who wants a twin is what I'm asking.
No.
Children.
What child wants a waterbed? Except for those that watch like the Goofy.
That seems like an absolute liability waiting to happen. Some kid is coming in with this, toy or whatever, and they just start jumping on the bed, and then they fall, and then the toy punctures the waterbed.
And social services is asking you why your child drowned in your home, and it's because they wanted a waterbed.
Okay, it's not like it's unlimited water. Like your insurance company, your home insurance is like, why? I don't.
Okay, Now take this into consideration. If they did have twin water beds, it wouldn't be as much water. Ever think about that?
I'm not getting my kid a waterbed.
No.
Jeff, are you getting your kids waterbeds?
No, I can barely. They got a hand-me-down bed right now from my old bed, so it's hard to find beds out there. They're expensive. So
beds are expensive.
No, beds are expensive.
Look, if Costco
so no water beds.
If
I don't
Costco
even have
doesn't sell water beds, I'm anti-waterbed. #Kirk.
I'm on board with that. I like that logic. The next one from another recurring guest. So we got 2 back-to-back recurring guests. What in the world? From the 1012 Network, Philip Slavin, shout out, homie. How many hours or days in a row do each of you think you could wear the Willie Wildcat mascot head without removing it? Keep in mind, you wouldn't be able to drink. You wouldn't be able to drink without removing it.
Well, this is where I'm going to prove that wrong, because I would put a feed bag over my face like a horse, and I would have like a water tank shoved through the bottom, side mouth like that, like a little gerbil. And I could probably stay under that thing for at least 2 days.
Really?
I could sleeping 5 minutes. I've put one on and it smells like a dead cow's ass.
Whoa.
It smells awful in those things. It smells awful in those things. Like it's some sweaty. Oh my God.
This is what Chef is talking about, by the way.
Yeah, put the feed bag on. You got enough sustenance in there to at least last a day.
Look, the thing that Chef has going for him is they are finding Willies that are like short and stocky Willies now. That kind of fits Chef's description.
Thick.
I would put on like 5 minutes. I swear. I put it on once and I was like, it also like hurts.
Yeah. Is this a new Willie head or like the used Willie heads?
Ooh, could cocaine Willie head, that scary one?
Oh god. No, that's not my question though. Is this a used Willie head or one of the
No, you have to get the full experience. It has to be a used Willie head.
So
I'm sure they sanitize it.
I had to wear the Billy Blue Jay costume at Creighton when I was interning there, and that helmet it smells like hockey gear. Like if you've ever been around a hockey player, like those mascot outfits smell like hockey gear. And I don't think I could handle more than like 30 or 45 minutes.
Give me all day in that thing. Give me 2 days and I'll outlast all you. I'll sleep sitting up for the cause. I'm here for the cause.
For the cure. From @Matt Marchesini, I'm the only one that didn't ask a question. What is your favorite chain sit-down restaurant? My answer is easy. It's Chuy's.
Oh, Chuy's, the Tres Leche.
And my Chuy's just closed down about 5 minutes away from my house. So pissed.
That's big sad.
That was more creamy jalapeno for you.
Dude, that was the best Tex-Mex in the entire Denver metro area.
Tex-Mex, shout out to the Tex-Mex.
Because
that might be my next date. That might be my next date spot. Love Chuy's. That's a great answer.
That was my wife's my parents-in-law. Their first date was at the original Chuy's. It was a blind date.
Ooh, underrated. It's nowhere near the quality that Chuy's is. So I'm just going out there on a limb because you reminded me first date. Me and my wife's first date, Mongolian barbecue. Shout out. I love Mongolian barbecue.
Okay, it's not a genre. It is what chain Mongolian barbecue restaurant did you take your wife?
Mongolian barbecue.
That's what it's called? This is a restaurant's called?
Isn't that what it's called? What are we talking about?
The only one I know of is Who Hot.
No. Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
Hashtag no free ads.
I know. While Chef's looking, Olive Garden. It's not even close. I fucking love Olive Garden.
I guess that's BD's. Sorry. BD's.
BD's is a chain. You win.
Okay. BD's Mongolian barbecue.
I thought you were going to tell us like Lucky Dragon or something because there's
no. BD's Mongolian barbecue. That was our first date. We went and saw Fool's Gold with Matthew McConaughey and can't remember the lead actress in that, but great movie.
And that is what sold her to you.
Yep.
Mongolian barbecue and a movie.
And she paid for it.
Oh my god.
Lucky her.
I mean, we're getting kind of to the end of the questions here, but we're at 298 people watching right now. Like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube and you're watching on Twitter, just take 2 seconds. Open up the YouTube app. Go to our Cocaine Willie. It's impossible to miss. We're 300 now. That's fantastic. We've only got what? How many people do we have watching on YouTube? 2 people are watching this on YouTube. We've got 298 people watching on Twitter. So shout out to the Twitter fans. Everybody on Twitter right now went to our YouTube and subscribed. We would increase by quite a bit on YouTube. So
please do it.
Please do it. Please do it. I mean, if you like us enough to watch us on Twitter, you like us enough to subscribe on YouTube. So please do that. Also, Cat Attack Pod is the next question. And shout out to John Grove, who's the host of that show. Great K-State podcast. And he's kind of parlayed his fellow KSDB 91.9 the Wildcat alum here. He says, we already know that K-State will play Iowa State in Dublin to start the 2025 season, marking the second K-State football game on non-American soil. If you had the option to choose which country K-State would play next, where would you choose? And the second country, by the way, is Japan. They played in the Tokyo Classic.
Great game.
Nebraska.
Man. That was what was there was a Bill story about that. I can't remember.
Bill made everybody sit on one side of the plane so they wouldn't be in the sun.
Yes. Okay. I do. That is the story. That is. I mean, that's next level. Logistics planning right there. That man knows what he's doing. If shout, this is going to be a deep dig for all our cokehead listeners out there. When we invented bowl games, I had thought of a bowl game that would be in Singapore, and I think that would be fun. I think it was it was Thailand, wasn't it? I can't remember exactly what the bowl's name was. I think we added like a random food, like a ramen or something to go on that. But Singapore would be crazy.
You did
That
choose Singapore.
Yes, I'm going back to my bowl game, Singapore Bowl.
Does Singapore have even a place that they could play football?
I'm sure there's like a giant. I'm sure there's some giant cricket field or something like that.
Yeah, fair enough. You know what? I'm just going very easy. Canada.
You son of a biscuit! I was going to do the little bat in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
In Calgary,
why not? Play with the Rough Riders, Calgary Rough Riders.
Like a Vancouver or a Montreal situation. But Canada, easy trip for K-Staters. We play. Let's see, we could play. I don't know, Minnesota. I don't know. Oh, you pick Canada. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Shit. Well, that puts me on the spot. I'm gonna go with. I think when we did this, I said Mexico, Big 12 Mexico, because you got the automatic tie in there. It can be the Modelo Big 12 Mexico Bowl, and I think I had also said that you would play another Big 12 opponent, but that is kind of what we're doing in Ireland. So let's do the Big 12 Mexico Modelo against the MAC, and then we'll play like the University of Ohio Bobcats.
Wouldn't it be fun if like one team was Modelo and the other team was like Dos Equis and like
Tecate or something?
Or what's the Outback Bowl where like if one team wins, they like a bloomin' onion to whoever goes that like a year supply for whoever is supporting this team and tweets the most or whatever. I
like that. The next question from the Cat Attack Pod is: would you rather bring back a live Bobcat mascot like Touchdown, or make a black lab named Bosco at Bosco's Boys? Shout out to Bosco's Boys, recurring guest Koozie, who sprints onto the field to retrieve the tee. I have 2 Labrador retrievers, so I'm going with a black lab named Bosco who sprints out to retrieve the tee.
Team Bosco. I'm Team Bosco. Shout out to Scott Wildcat, my guy. If he's listening to this, which I doubt he's doing that right now.
No, It's too late for him.
No faith. I'm going with the dog. That's so much fun.
Yeah.
Dog.
All these teams that have bulldog mascots, like they have those jolly dogs sitting on the side. I mean, and they always put the video right up to the jolly dog.
But could you imagine? You remember the Texas Tech game? Not our Texas Tech game, but it was a Texas Tech game year where a possum just was like running out on the field and he was like so happy. Imagine like if our Bobcat got loose and was just like skedaddling through the midfield. That would be kind of cool too.
I mean, how could you say no to this? How could you ever say no to that? It's just
fuck Butler.
I love everything about that dog.
I don't.
It's me and dog form right there.
I hate him. Oh, damn.
Is this your residual hatred for Butler as a result of the game that you went to at Hinkle Fieldhouse?
Yeah, their fans were nice though. So they're not on Cincinnati level, but
Chef, you can't go to any more basketball games. It's
my basketball. Bad news. I'm bad with basketball.
Yeah, dude, you're not allowed anymore. With K-State baseball falling to KU again from Cat Attack Pod, this is their last question. Who do you think will be the next head coach for K-State, and why do you think it will be Ross Kivett?
I have no idea.
I also don't know who Ross Kivett is because
what? Y'all don't know who Ross Kivett is?
No.
Associate head coach of the University of Houston Cougars?
Yeah, well, he played at K-State.
Oh,
Is
sweet.
he handsome?
Yeah, have
He was
paid
an All-American. He was
attention.
All-American, and he was Big 12 Player of the year we
Wait.
won the Big 12.
Hell yeah, love that. I went to one K-State baseball game when I was a student.
Oh my God, you losers! All right, whatever. Next
It should
question.
be Ross Kivett. I'm in on that. I like that.
I'm in on it too.
The last question, which is not a question, comes from @NickLedette11. NickLed11. No questions, just wanted to send love from the Coffee Fiend. Nick the Coffee Fiend, OG, Cocaine Willie Stan. He says he misses us, so we miss you too.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, we're giving hearts, thumbs ups. I'm gonna give a thumbs up if it lets me. It's me. None of this is working. It's not working. Usually, it works.
It's my Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Mac too, and it's choosing not to do the things. But I mean, any final words before we let everybody go for this episode?
No, this is fun. I mean, I love going live. You know, anything is possible with the Cokeheads. Anything can be said. This, like Bob was saying, just subscribe. Help the numbers out. It helps us out. No sweat off of your back. Come join the family, and we'll always be here though. Cocaine boys, let's go, man. Cocaine Willies, let's go.
Oh yeah, for all of us at Cocaine Willie, thank you for listening, watching this live. If you're watching this live, and then listening to the podcast feeds after the fact, be sure to check out the College Huddle. We are the official K-State representative podcast, vodcast, whatever you want to call us, for the College Huddle, and follow them on social media at College Huddle. Also go to the website at thecollegehuddle.com. We've got articles. We've got all sorts of good stuff there covering the G5, the P4, the P2. I don't know what anything is anymore. We've got some legislation that's going to be going through this week that's going to dictate a lot of different things for NCAA football and basketball and every other sport moving forward. So who knows where things are headed, but I am faithful in where K-State will be in that mix at some point. There are, like I said, articles, podcasts covering everything, every sport, from G5 to P5 and everything beyond. You can also follow the show at Cocaine Willie on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram. You can follow us individually. I'm at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini. And Chef, I'm going to let you take it out.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug, man.
We are all coke and no joke. Wildcat Country.
Let's fucking ride.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.